Welcome, everyone. Um, yeah, what's the session now? This is a fifth one. That's a great start to the recording. Anyway, whatever session that is, fifth session. Welcome, everyone. A wholeheartedly welcome. And Sydney will take you through the next steps and introduce you to our host or the mentors for tonight, which is Aditi and Satya. Handing over to Sydney.
Thanks, Kumar. Another exciting week session for building your business. This week's focus will be mostly on marketing. I'll just hand it over to our two presenters, Satya and Aditi. Thanks for presenting today.
Thank you. Aditi, am I starting? Are you sharing screens or?
Hold on.
I think you'll start.
Yeah. I've just started it. Yeah.
I can't see the screen yet.
Before I start, I just want to say I am absolutely so excited to hear from Satya and learn, because though I've been a marketer all throughout, I've kind of really, enjoyed my little bit of interactions with Satya. So absolutely excited, and all yours, Satya. Completely taking down my notes.
You put the pressure on. You put the pressure on already.
I am going to be taking all my notes. I'm going to be preparing myself.
Okay, so let's kick it off. Thanks, Aditi, for that. So, Kumar, I can't see my slides, so I don't know if you're sharing it yet.
I am not sharing your slide. Okay, do you have your slide? I have given you the permission to share. Could you please? I don't have it open.
I didn't know that I'm sharing. Okay, sorry,
you could
guys.
share, so in that way you could also control that. I didn't know that I was sharing your. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Let me know. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
We can see it. Yes.
Okay, good. So are you seeing the full screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Are you seeing
full script now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I can't see the guys. Maybe. Sorry.
That's it.
I'm just trying to. Sorry, guys. Just do a bit of housekeeping in terms of how do I see everyone. Maybe you might not be able to see me, or I can't see you guys in terms of reactions, but I'll continue and I'll go through the whole thing, and we'll take questions towards the end. So really, firstly, once again, thank you, Kumar. Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Aditi, for giving me the opportunity to come and talk to you guys. It's really a pleasure to be speaking in front of a forum that's very enthusiastic about marketing and the future of marketing. One of the things that I'd like to talk to you about, this is not a marketing one-on-one lesson in terms of how you do marketing, but this is a bit more advanced from a marketing perspective of what you should be doing in the future. And this is more when I talk to corporates, I talk to senior leadership in terms of how marketing is evolving and what are the things that you need to do. It's very relevant for you as stepping stone as entrepreneurs, because you don't really want to do marketing that was done in the past. What you would like to do is to learn from what happened in the past, what's going to happen in the future, what are the things that are going to drive marketing in the future, and how you can scale your organization to basically drive a customer-centric view. So taking with that backdrop, the key takeaways today, I'll take you on a journey of how marketing has actually changed since its inception. And then I'll talk to you about a few frameworks needed for this fast-changing industry in marketing. We talk about digital. I'll give you some framework of what exactly is digital and how do you actually create a digital organization. What's the role of analytics? You would hear the term, there's a lot of data being collected, data being talked about. So analytics actually has a bigger role to play in marketing ever than before. And then how do you actually differentiate between marketing, sales, and customer service? And what exactly is happening, and why as an organization you should be really pinning yourself and understanding the customer service component, and what are the key triggers that identify whether your organization is doing good, better, or worse, and how you can improve from there on. So without wasting too much of time, digging into it straight away, this is a bit of a topography or a timeline to suggest how marketing has evolved. So there's a number of ways of looking at it. I don't know how many of you are students of marketing who would have read the book of Kotler. And Philip Kotler, when he talked about marketing, it was more around the 1960s. And I haven't read the latest edition, but I'm sure he's talked about a few natives in terms of the future. But predominantly marketing in 1960s was product led. And when you talk about product led, it was more about volume. It was more about mass production. So I would classify 1960s as the age of manufacturing, and it was mass manufacturing, and industrial powerhouses were looking to dominate that sector. And then you want to fast forward that for another 30 years and come to 1990. And 1990 is pretty much where you start looking at the information age, and that's where you start thinking about the age of the customer. And I'll just talk about, when I talk about the age of the customer, I'll just say that's the starting point. But between 1960 and 1990, you had the age of the distribution, where transportation systems and supply chain started emerging. And then you had a lot of things to do with supply chain and transportation. But again, coming back to that 1990, which is the age of information, and I guess that's the not the industrial revolution, that's the information revolution, where connected PCs was important, information was key, and information was power, information was control, and that's where data-driven marketing started to really take inception. And towards 2020, data-driven marketing really took main stage. That's where the concept of customer experience started to emerge. And from time, so if I look at 2020 and move to 2021, I would say 2021, we are at the halfway stage of the age of the customer. So it's more around how do we move from mass marketing? 1990 was analytical marketing. Fast forward 2021 is more about cognitive marketing, where you start looking at the concept of machine learning. You talk about artificial intelligence. You talk about virtual reality. You talk about augmented reality, customer design and orchestration, and liquid customer expectation and customer intimacy. Now, this term, liquid customer expectation, is really a very fluid term that has evolved over a period of time. I'd like to take a few minutes and talk about that liquid customer expectation and what was that. Liquid customer expectation was a laser-focused approach on customer and what customers were demanding and expecting. So let's take an example. If you walk into a bank or you walk into a telecommunication provider, whatever experience you get in that bank, you basically succumb to that experience. If that experience was good, you liked it. If the experience was bad, you really had no option. Then came the age of the Ubers, the Netflix, the Amazon. And the experience that they started driving, customer first, if there's an issue, they'll come back and resolve that issue for you pretty much in real time, single point of contact. They actually changed the dimension of how organizations and customers react with each other. And what then started happening from there on is that customers started to think, well, if Uber can provide me that experience and Netflix can do that, why can't my bank do that? Why can't my telco do that? So it's more about, do you know me? How do you reach me? And how do you deliver that experience? And when you're trying to deliver that experience, how do you deliver that experience at scale, at speed, and with agility? And agility means the ability to fail, ability to basically learn from your failures and come back again. So that's dominantly what that marketing timeline looks like. So as entrepreneurs today, what I would suggest is where you should be looking at is what's happening in 2021 and beyond. How do I actually create that non-stop dynamics of lightning fast customer interaction and reactions to customers' interaction and build my communication platform, my communication strategy to deliver that to that customer? What that means is that the customers today, as compared to the customers of the 1960s, are more informed, they're more enriched, and they're more empowered. So what that means is that they're more informed and more enriched and more empowered. So in 1970s or 1980s or 1990s, when the customer and the organization have their first interaction, that's when there's the exchange of information is happening. Fast forward that in 2021, the first interaction that you think that you're having with that customer does not really necessarily mean that's the first interaction. The customer has actually already gone on the company's website, has taken a download of the information, is on social media, is looking at some positive and negative feeds about your product before they actually make a first proactive attempt to walk into a branch or call the call center and get some more information. That's very critical for you to understand as a business, that the customer today is at the driving seat. And that's why we are saying the customer is more informed, they're more enriched, and they're more empowered. And what does that mean? So what that means is that customers are now demanding an experience which is continuous, an experience which is connected, and an experience which is consistent at all times, at all touch points. And I'll take a pause to explain. I think there are quite a few big words in there when you talk about consistent, all times, and all touch points. So from an organizational perspective, again, when I talked about, do you know me, serve me, and serve me better, and serve me right at all times across all channels. So if I have, as a customer, provided you with some pieces of information, hey, organization, I want you to synthesize that information. From a data collection perspective, how data is collected, how data is stored, and how data is going to be used for customer communication and marketing analytics. So whether you call me through the call center or I call you in the call center, you send me an email, you send me an SMS, all that needs to be consistent. And that messaging around that has to be very, very clear. So here are two terms when you talk about consistent communication and connected and continuous communication. One is multi-channel, and the other one is omni-channel. There's a bit of a difference between the two. When you talk about multi-channel is the ability of an organization to communicate with its customer across multiple channels, be it telemarketing, be it email, be it app, be it SMS, and so on. Omni-channel is basically what it means is that the ability to communicate the same message across all different channels at the same time, and the ability to withdraw messages from channels in which the message has been consumed and accordingly update the relevant channel. So for example, if I receive an email and I have changed my marketing permissions from yes to no, and you're about to send me an SMS, you've already captured that information that my marketing preference has now changed from a yes to a no, and don't send me an SMS. For example, you're sending me an SMS and you're sending me an offer, say 20% off. I have actually taken that offer and I have redeemed that. And you're about to follow up that communication in an email channel. The email channel is advised that Satya has already taken that offer, withdraw him from that communication channel. That is the power of omni-channel. Now, how many companies today are able to do that? That's another question, to do that at scale and velocity. And there's some challenges around that. But if you're looking at the age of the customer, if you're having a laser focus on the customer and you're trying to deliver, you're creating a startup which is customer focused, these are the things that are very, very critical and important for you to consider. Okay, and just maintaining that age of customer and everything is around the customer. In 2021 and beyond, it's more about the human experience. It's all about the engagement. It's about the customer intimacy. So again, going back to our favorite topic of 1960s, Kotler mass marketing, it was more about industrialized production. It was more about mass marketing. Now it's all about one-to-one interaction. And customer intimacy is about not the breadth of the relationship, it's the depth of the relationship with the customer as a one-to-one customer. So what that means is that you're looking at, it's the summation of all and an ecosystem of all different interactions and reactions to interactions to provide that experience. And when you're providing that experience, what's happening, so why I have got that word human experience or about the touch, is because effectively all of this work is now going to be enabled. So what's going to happen in 2021 and beyond, marketing is data-led, insights-driven, and analytically powered and technology-enabled. So I've used a lot of big words here: data-led, insights-driven, analytically powered, and technology-led. And I don't see the human element in there. I don't see the human doing anything. So the AI algorithm is already going to look at whether George wants what type of product, and Sam, sorry, Sam, I see you on the screen, so I'm picking your name there. So what product George and Sam want, and how do I differentiate that? And how do I basically provide another exponential experience to Aditi at the same time? The machines are going to do that. So there's no human sitting there. But the way it has to be delivered has to look and feel of a human touch is there. So although the machine is doing all that, the number crunching is happening, the individualization is happening, the personalization at scale is happening, and that's all been done by machine, but you don't lose the human touch. That is very, very fundamental and paramount when you're talking about marketing in the future. Don't lose that. And that is something that did not happen in the industrial age when mass marketing was there. It was just about, I, as an organization, have a product. I want to basically reach out to a maximum number of customers and flog them with my product. I don't really care about the customer as a whole. So how do you drive into that culture from a product-led organization mix into a customer-led organization mix? So your mindset that needs to change is that you need to change from a, how do I do a business which is volume-based to a business which is value-based? How do I communicate to a customer not only in one channel, but across multi? How do I move away from doing mass marketing, one size fits all, to individualized, tailored communication, personalized communication, driving one-to-one connection with a customer? And then when you're doing that, automatically what happens is that you're leveraging data, you're leveraging technology, and you're moving from more waste to less waste because you're really targeted and sophisticated. It's not about talking to 1 million people and only getting 5% return. It's talking to 5,000 people and getting 50% return. That's the approach that you need to follow. So what exactly is the goal? So if you've heard me talk in the last 3 slides, the goal today to be relevant is how do I provide on-demand experiences which are highly relevant and they're delightful. They're meaningful for the customer. They are absolutely nudging and nudging what the customers want. Your elevator pitch is all around the customer. It's not around your product. Your product is a bypass. So you're basically empowering buyers to take it to that next level. And you're trying to bring that experience. So the experience that Netflix is providing, the experience that Uber is providing, and your bank, your telco needs to provide a similar type of experience. So now you'll be wondering, okay, that's great, but how do I actually, what do I need to do? How do I move the dial to get some incremental runs on the board? It's good to understand, the customer wants a connected, continuous experience, exponential experience. They want multi-channel, but really, how do I do it? Let's talk about how do you do it. So there's 2 approaches to do it. One is you need the data and technology to make it happen. And there's a lot of focus currently on people going and buying technology system, and maybe I'll touch base towards the end about the CRM systems, there's communication systems, there's email systems. But what's fundamentally important, and you being entrepreneurs and startups, you can drive your own journey, is a fail fast mindset. So it's important really to put strategy first as compared to technology. A lot of organizations currently are investing millions of dollars into technology, but not really looking at the strategy. And the strategy is, what is the business problem that we're looking at solving, and how do you solve that? So how do you move the needle from strategy to execution? And what is your fail fast mindset? What's your pathway to agility? And the pathway to agility is more around, how do I do things at speed and scale? And how do I do things simpler, better, and faster? And at the same time, when I'm doing that, I fail fast. So if I fail is all about experimentation. Experimentation is all about test and learn. So you do something, how do you figure out that what I did it work, did it not work? I sent out a communication to a customer. Maybe it did not work. So what was wrong? Did I target or did I select the wrong group of customers? Did I give them the wrong offer? Did I target them through the wrong channel? Maybe SMS was a better channel as compared to an email. A 5% off was not as good as a 10% off. And the customer segment that we're responding to that. So that's what your experimentation is. So you need to be able, so agile basically means is that the ability to experiment quickly and on the fly. When I say on the fly, pretty much in a very quick turnaround time, able to change things that are not working and convert them into what is going to be working. And communicate with the customer, communicate with your own teams in terms of what you need to do. So that is the fundamental thing that you need to have. The key takeaway from this slide is that you really need to have, do I have the mindset to drive this culture? Do I have the tools and technology to do that? Yes, I do. But do I really have that mindset? And the most critical element in here is the mindset that you need to drive that experience that the customer is wanting in the fourth industrial revolution or anything beyond 2021. So I just wanted to touch base on a few quick things in here. When we talk about traditional marketing, was all the 4 P's of the product, the place, the price, and promotion, and you overlay that with segmentation, targeting, and positioning, and that used to lead to purchase. Now, the 4 P's are now actually changed or interchanged with the E's, which is the experience. So anything that you do with a customer, what's the experience that you're providing? It's all about the empathy. You look at experience, you look at empathy, you look at exclusivity, and exclusivity is, again, it's all talking about one-to-one. You know, every customer wants to feel that I am exclusive, I'm an individual, I'm a segment of one. So traditionally, so if you want looking at marketing and how you're going to basically look at and targeting your customers in the future, the 4 P's of marketing, product, place, price, and promotion are definitely your building blocks, but you need to overlay that with the ease of experience, empathy, and exclusivity, and manage that. And how do you do that? So what happens is that you put the data, so I'll use a technology term here, you're able to put the experience layer on top of the data layer as to how you're going to basically drive that experience, exclusivity, and emotion, and touching on the customer's emotion. The other thing that's happening, and you'll all see, is that it's all, people are talking about digital. Now, there's 2 aspects of digital that I want you to be aware of. One is digital as a channel. And when you talk about digital as a channel, you look at email, SMS, and app. These are your channels in digital. And then you look at digital as, you know, I want to digitize my business. What that means for you is that, and I think as a startup, as an entrepreneurs, that's where you're looking at. When you hear this term digitization, digital transformation, and what does that basically mean? So digital transformation or digitization basically means, one, it's being customer focused. Secondly, whatever you do, you're basically making everything very, very seamless for the customer. So for example, and I'll just pick an example, and I'll just make a very vague example. You're a restaurant, right? Now, how is your chef and how is your wait staff aligned? How do you take the order? How do you basically process the order in the back end? How does the chef cook that order? And how does the customer or the wait staff actually present and lay out the table and present it back to the customer? The customer is not really concerned about it. What the customer is looking at is that, how do I get a seamless experience? Can I have an app? And rather than going into the menu, I can basically look at the menu on the app. Look at COVID situation today. People don't want to, you know, there's connection of touch and you know, social distancing. So can I have my menu on the app? And I basically place my order through the app itself, and it automatically goes back to the back office where the chef is preparing my food and the wait staff can basically present it. So digitization or digital transformation is trying to create that seamless experience for the customer. That's what it exactly is. So maybe I'll take an example of a bank. You apply for a credit card, you apply for a loan. But what happens is that when you apply for it, it might take 5 days to get an approval. How can I basically reduce that time in a day? There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of checking that needs to happen and validation and verification of the documentation. But I, as a customer, I'm not really responsible for that. Bank, you as an organization, figure out yourself in the back end, how you're doing all of that stuff and getting it right. I basically need to know I applied. I need to be communicated. Did I get successful or did my application get rejected? That is what is digital. So currently, if you are an organization and you're looking at either being on the e-commerce platform or you're looking at a branch network, you can't ignore digital. And again, digital is being customer focused. Again, as a razor sharp view of what exactly the customer wants, using technology to provide that end-to-end seamless experience, even though you're fragmented, you're across borders, you're across geographies, that doesn't matter, and bring that through. The other element is that how do you provide that customer experience from a service perspective? So I, as a customer, I'm not happy with the service that has been provided. If I raise a question, who basically answers that question for me? Do I have a single point of contact? Do I have a single point of resolution? That person in the organization does the running around at 15 different places, gets me the resolution and provides me the outcome. So that is the flavor of digital for a very short period of time. I think I've touched on this topic about how do you morph away from the 4 P's of marketing into the experience, the engagement, and the emotion and connectivity, and move from there. So again, this is another a slide that talks more about supply chain matrices, how you're able to sell. Depending on the type of organization that you are, you've got the ability as an organization to sell to a customer directly, and e-commerce could be a platform. You could be using a vendor to sell your product, and that is basically have a distribution network. You supply your products to a distribution network. The distribution network actually sends directly to the company, so you don't really have a direct network or a touch with the company. And then you have a relationship where you actually partner with a distribution company, and you have skin in the game, and you're delivering to that customer. So I'll give you an example. When you talk about, let's say you purchase white goods. So currently, when you purchase white goods, you don't actually go to the company and buy it directly from them. So the company really has no visibility of what products you've bought. They know that X number of customers have bought refrigerators, but at a customer level, they do not know who that customer is. So now if you go and buy any of these white goods, they have that form that they say under the name of warranty, extended warranty, and blah, blah, blah. They're collecting that information because what they're looking at doing is they're basically building that relationship with the customer through the supply chain intermediary to understand more about the customer, so they're able to service the customer a bit more better. That's again talking about how you're trying to be customer focused. Again, customer intimacy. This is a topic of what exactly is customer intimacy. So customer intimacy is about over a period of time, organizations are collecting a lot of information about the customer. So what the organization is saying is, what the organization is saying to the customer, hey, you collected a lot of information about me. What are you doing with that? And so intimacy is more about the depth of the relationship. So you exactly should know, I, as a customer, have bought what products? When did I buy it? When do I look at buying my product? So target me when I'm in market. And I'll give you some examples on a very large-scale transformation project that I ran at the Star Entertainment Group, which is the Star Casino. And the example is that gambling is a very peculiar behavior. So what happens in there is that I need to know my customer in and out of what they do. So one of the behaviors that gamblers have is that they sit on the same gaming table all the time, thinking that that's their lucky table and they will win there. So they like to book that table there. If someone has a peculiar habit, they want to have a drink, they want to drink coffee or water or anything, that's the first thing that they will do. Now, I, as an organization, know that, again, I'll pick on George, that George basically likes to have cappuccino before he actually goes and plays. So I know that information, right? Now, as an organization, I provide free coffee to George every time because he's an elite customer. He's a high-valued customer. He's spending hundreds and thousands of dollars with us. So we basically provide him free drinks and coffee every time he comes in. Now, it's futile for me to ask George, hey, George, coffee? And hey, Satya, give me the coffee. And I already know that. I know that behavior. So what I've done is, and this is again trying to be very digital. So when George is approaching the cafe or George is approaching the premises, I know that because I've got beacons installed and George is having his mobile phone. So the mobile is connected to the beacon. Signals are coming that George is actually in the building. That information in real time is relayed to the butler that starts preparing coffee for George. So now what's happening is that George is parking his car and he's making his way to the table, to the stairway. Same time, the coffee is getting prepared and the coffee is making its way on the table. you look at that customer intimacy. So I exactly know that George has arrived. George has not said anything. I know that he's coming to the table. By the time he comes to the table, the coffee has been delivered. So I basically provide on the twist. So George meets Satya, and Satya has his own table. So George and Satya decide, okay, now we're not going to be sitting on the table on the left. We're going to be sitting on a table which is 100 meters away. Now that in real time, that message has gone back to the butler. Hey, George has actually moved 200 meters away from his normal table, deliver the coffee onto the table on the other side. That is customer intimacy. So you're harnessing the relationship and data in real time to provide that exponential experience, that exclusivity to George. Now, when you're trying to do that, there's chances things sometimes will go wrong. But that's when your test and learn comes in. You're testing, learning, and you're having that agile concept of trying to drive things in a different way. So that was just my example to drive you about customer intimacy. Now, how many organizations are doing that? Very few. What is the challenge? Why you're not able to do that? There's a lot of technology investment required. There's a lot of data integration that needs to happen. But again, technology and data aside, the mindset to think through this is very, very important. So when people talk about so you'll ask the question, so Satya, why are people not being able to do it? So if you are a marketer, the challenge is that you don't know what you don't know. So when you don't know what you don't know, you're just not aware of what the capabilities are from a data perspective, from a technology perspective, and how to do it. So you're just totally blind. Then there's the other quadrant of people, they know what they don't know. So they don't know how to do it, but they know that they don't know how to do it. So they tap onto different people. And what you're doing as entrepreneurs here today is that you know what you don't know. So our job is just to my job today is just to excite you today, basically provide you more empowerment in terms of what can happen. So that's you need to be in that quadrant of, rather than being in that quadrant of you don't know what you don't know, you know what you don't know. So that's just my key takeaway from that slide from you. This I'll just rush into it. I think I'm running out of time. I've already consumed 30 minutes, and he's patiently waiting. So I'll try to wrap it up very quickly. So the other thing that you need to really know when you're trying to do data-driven marketing is you need to know the details of the customer in terms of their demographics, their age, occupation, income, what segment they belong to, their lifestyle, their attitude, propensity to buy, behavior, and other things. And that's more of a marketing-led data analytics class for another day. But if you are an organization and you are an entrepreneur and you're the owner of the business, what you really need to think about is that whatever you do, the customer is at the heart of everything. That's why I've got one as customer, and the culture and the support strategy that you've got, the right investment, the tools, the people to drive it. But again, customer centricity need to be at the heart of everything and whatever things that you do. Towards my closing slides, I want to really emphasize the fact, again, we started off with the customer and we'll end with the customer as to why it's very, very important to really focus and invest in the customer. And these are some stats to prove my point and validate as to how important it is. If you're not focusing on the customer, you lose track and sight of the customer, and that basically makes a dent into your business bottom line. So 80% of the consumers are more likely to give a company repeat business after a good service. So that's the critical factor. You'll have moments of truth, and moments of truth is no matter how good you are, things will break. But the question is that when things break, how do you rebound? And what's your strategy to get your things back on track? It could be a very simple thing, putting your hand up and saying, apologies, the organization made a mistake. Hey, customers, this is a refund. Now, how many organizations are doing that on a proactive basis? When you say 80% of consumers are more likely to give a company repeat business, that's the type of experience that customers, when they receive, they want to go back to that organization. That's fundamentally important. So the key takeaway for you is how when things don't go the right way, how do you react to that? basically impacts is the customer going to come back or not going to come back to do business with you. And that's basically ties in very well. A 5% increase in customer retention can increase profits up to 125%. That means is that if you're able to retain that 5% customer base, which was annoyed, happy, disgruntled, with a bit extra cushion in terms of the value that you have provided, the extra benefit that you have given, the refund or anything that could have been a big hit, actually a small hit for you at that point in time, but basically it has a very massive impact on your customer retention. The other thing is, again, when you're taking on to customer retention, 2% increase in customer retention has the same effect as decreasing cost by 10%. Again, it's looking at, your customers are gold. It's important that you're always retaining your customers. Otherwise, you'll have a leaking bucket. What that means is that at one point in your acquisition funnel, you're dropping in people day in, day out, but you've got a hole in the bucket, which means that as people are coming in, you've got a segment of customers that's dropping off. So every day, your bucket is never going to be full. Although you're basically throttling in a lot of customers, you got a big hole at the bottom. So for you to grow, it's important you have a very, very small shrinkage or loss of customers in the funnel. And then the last thing is more around, it's about 6 to 7 times more expensive to acquire a new customer as compared to keep a current one. That's why customer retention is more important. The cost and the effort required to save a customer as compared to the cost and effort required to acquire a new customer is significantly more. And just depending on that flavor again, 91% of customers say they would use an online knowledge base if it was available for self-serve. And this is when I talked about earlier. In 1960, the first time the customer interacts is calling you or walking into the branch or walking into the store and collecting information. Now in the information age, in the internet age, availability of mobile and devices on hand, customers are already researching about your product and services. They're looking at affinity groups. They're looking at signals of sales. They're looking at positive and negative emotions that are shared in Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, name a few. And they've already collected a lot of that information. So they've already made up their mind, let's say to the tune of 80 to 90% before they are trying to interact with you to make that purchasing decision. So that's very important as to having an online presence is very, very critical for you today. If you're not online and you're not visible, you're not there. And again, maintaining that online flavor, 41% of consumers expect an email response within 6 hours. So if you have an online business and if you've got a contact us icon and people are responding to you in an email, people are now short of time. They're short of memory. They are basically rapidly engaging with other brands. So they expect, to get that feedback instantly. And that instantly for them is pretty much in 6 hours. So you need to be always working, always processing, always on. And again, when we talk about that 91%, 60% of consumers are influenced by other consumers' comments. So again, before they buy a product, they want to do that affiliation. They want to look at their recommendation of what other people have said. So if you're on your website, have negative feedback about your product, that is a red flag for your new customers to look at your product and then not really consume your product. And last but not the least, people tell an average 9 people about a good experience and 16 about a bad one. And you'll have different figures to talk about that. And what that basically means is that if you're good, the number of people that are going to talk about you is relatively quite less. Make one mistake, and the people that are going to be talking bad about you is exponentially high. So the ability to lose something as compared to continuously doing good is something that you always have to manage. You cannot drop the ball. And in terms of the analogy of the ball, the ball that you can, sometimes you're juggling with, you're a juggler. And being a juggler, you have multiple balls that you're juggling with. And one ball could be a glass ball and one ball could be a rubber ball. And the analogy is that if you drop the rubber ball, the chances are that the rubber ball is going to rebound and you're going to catch it again. But the glass ball, The way it is constructed, the nature it is, it's fragile. If it drops, and it breaks. It breaks the relationship within the organization and the customer. So you can't afford to drop the glass ball, but sometimes you can afford to drop the rubber ball and catch it again. I have a few more slides. Sorry, I thought I was finishing up. We talked about how to move the needle. So how to move the needle is that if you were an organization, you say something you talked about CRM, you talked about data, you talked about technology, you talked about experience. What does day one look for me? If I was an entrepreneur, I don't have the budget, I don't have the data, I don't have the luxury of technical systems, and how do I actually build things for myself from scratch? So this is for you to take away. In phase one, you're looking at, before you really go live, you need to prioritize your activities, what you really need to do. What is your strategy? Do you need a CRM system? Do you need a website? Do you need a social media tool? And you basically start quantifying and laying that, what you really need to communicate with your customer. Then you start thinking, okay, when I go back on day one, and I start communicating with my customer, what does my operating model look like? You need to decide on your marketing plan. Day one, what your marketing operating plan is going to look like, and how you're going to achieve that from a people, process, data, technology, and system, and how you're going to enable that. And when you talk about enablement, that's when you're building your system and capability. So how do I do the technical setup? How do I do the channel deployment? How do I go from a single channel into multi-channel? And how do I do analytics and modeling in terms of segmentation, data-driven, and other things? So those are the things in blue you see are sophisticated things that you would do in the age of the customer from a data and technology perspective. But ideally, day one, where you should be focusing on is on the yellow and the green bits. And that basically captures up your strategic vision of how you actually communicate with your customer in terms of how you decide your offers, how you orchestrate, how you actually push that across to your customers, and how customers react to that, and they provide you feedback. You take that feedback back as a response, and you improvise, you improve, and you change, and you bring that back again in production. And that's again a very high-level strategic view of what you should be doing and how you should be doing. And this is a customer journey map example in terms of what exactly are the steps when the customers are there on the discovery phase, when they're evaluating your product, when they're making a decision to buy your product, and then the support that's required and what they think once they bought their product, and how does that again flow back into discovery and research. So those are some, that's more for reading. In the interest of time, I won't go into much technical details around that, but that should give you a flavor of what that looks like. So with that, I'll pass back to Aditi. Or are we taking questions now or after Aditi's presentation?
I think thanks, Satya. Yeah, later we would take the questions, I believe.
Sure. Thank you all.
Thank you, Satya. I'll be sharing Aditi's screen PowerPoint because she's having a bit of a technical issue. So just sharing it now.
While we are doing that, Satya, thanks a ton. I think you've been able to put in a lot of things into perspective, and thanks for setting the stone there, setting the foundation. What I would be doing as we go along would be just to get a little more into the tactical aspects, and I wouldn't really take a lot of time, because this is what I'm going to, what we would do as we go along is we talk about what can be the building blocks, and essentially, like Satya has mentioned, we would kind of talk about a little bit more. I'll get deeper into the consumer and try to understand, how is it, what are the kind of, technicalities that we would like to look at. So just the first slide here is when you're talking about trying to find out the target audience, right? And then you're talking about the consumer. So most of the times what happens is that we tend to put more focus on picking up a large range of consumers. Why targeting? Why do we need a specific segment of consumers? That is essentially to look at more focus, and as we kind of start off, and I've been an entrepreneur as well, so I can just share that, when I started off my journey with my product, I had this thing at the back of my mind that, we should try and sell to anybody and everybody who comes my way, just to get the word of mouth and everything around there. So is it a good strategy or a bad strategy? I would not comment on that. What I just want to say here is that we definitely need to look at the focus. So we would want to talk about it. I don't want to really kind of become more riskier by saying that I wouldn't want to sell to this particular consumer because he doesn't fit into my segment. But we would like to kind of keep it, the demographics, the psychographics, and our strategy very, very tight-lipped there. So while we're targeting, just in case we feel, and most of the times what happens is that we come into this whole fear of missing out, which is called FOMO in the language of marketing. We feel that if we kind of not sell our product to this particular segment of customer, we might just lose out. So though it is probably the right thing to do, but as you go along, we need to be more and more focus. So there is now the second side to my slide here is that there is, I would kind of, illustrate here with this point of focus is that there are three types of targets. There's a selling target. We just kind of go ahead and sell it to anybody and everybody. Everybody cannot be in the marketing target. We are spreading ourselves and the resources, which are very limited, especially when we are starting off our own venture and we are all entrepreneurs. We need to do everything by ourselves. And that's what you would have also figured out in the 8 weeks that we're going to be discussing here. We need to be doing everything ourselves. So we need to really be very, very, we need to tighten up what is it that we are looking at and who do we go ahead and spend our limited resources on. So my marketing target differs from my selling target, and the target of the program target could be a campaign. As we are running something, as we kind of decide who my marketing target is, I would then get deeper into understanding if there's a particular campaign that I'm running. For example, I was seeing when I started discussions here with everybody, was that a few of us have a few ideas around starting off, particular food business, etc. So do we kind of have a particular thing, do we target a set of consumers, let's say during Diwali, which is more, and run a Diwali campaign? Do we do it during a Christmas time? So we have a different set of consumer that we would like to look at. Kumar, if you can move to the next slide. Thanks. This slide basically very rudimentary, but just gives me a few different segments, and I would say a few pointers around segmentation. If you heard Satya, and this is something that you mentioned, Kotler, who's probably known as the father of marketing, and probably an age-old concepts, but there are some things which we kind of even use today. So segmentation of the market is the most important thing according to a marketer, if you ask, right? Now, when you segment, marketers then tend to understand what are the different cohorts that we would be kind of, what are available, whether we are kind of playing around with them or not, but we just have this. So when you're doing it, and it's not like a huge exercise, I mean, we don't have funds to do it when we are entrepreneurs, but in our mind, we talk about what are the segments that we are looking at, and it helps us as marketers to be more efficient in terms of time, money, and other resources. So, you create those segments in your mind. How do you do it? Do you do it on the basis, you just kind of do a profiling, The easiest one is to look at the demographics, age, sex, gender, segments, etc. We just kind of put those profiling and we kind of just understand who is it that we are targeting. I remember that, one of us had also shared that they're trying to make sustainable jewelry, which is, what is the age group that we are targeting for that particular product segment that we are trying to cater to. Then in the profiling aspect, we also look at the socioeconomic and the geographic elements. How do consumers shop? Are they doing it online, which is a big thing these days? Do you need, so we're just trying to put everybody into those segments so that we're able to then classify and target them and position our particular products. Like Satya mentioned, it's no longer a product-based market, but we need to have that thing around the consumer. Until the time we don't have those insights and that segmentation, we would never be able to create those strategies as well, So consumer behavior, that will be another aspect that I would want to talk about. What is the behavior that what the consumers are kind of looking at? there are different needs states that a consumer could be, so is he kind of looking at a particular product, and when is it that the product is being purchased, what is the life stage that a consumer is at, and what are the life moments, is he kind of buying it for a particular purpose, is he getting married and he's kind of purchasing something, is he kind of or he or she looking at a particular religious belief that they're trying to look at, what are the perceptions that consumers have towards a particular set, and these things really, as long as you understand and you try and put all of that thought and go deep dive, do a deep dive, it really helps us to create a more rigid and focused strategy around it. The third point would be around the psychographics. Now, psychographics are not very easily quantifiable. So it's more of, there'll be different levels of ethnographic studies, etc., that you would need to do. There might be, how does a consumer go and shop? What is the personality that he or she has? What are the value systems? What is the attitude that the consumer has? I'm not very sure, if it is kind of all encompassing, but, this is just a broad, just to give everybody an idea of what is it and how is it that we can try and segment. And as you do a segmentation, it's always a good idea, maybe a good starting point could be to look at 2 or 3 or even 4 different segmentation variables. We can probably have somebody from a particular age group, shopping particularly for this particular occasion with a lifestyle who's kind of being looked at. The choice definitely all depends on the category. We cannot really say, what is going to be the best thing here, but if these are just a few pointers for you to kind of think about what is it that we are kind of looking at from a segment perspective. Thanks, Kumar, to the next slide, if you can go. The next 2 slides, I'm going to basically talk a little bit, just get a bit more deeper into what Satya had mentioned around the insights and around what are the different ways, So these are probably questions that I've tried to put in here in terms, which is what you might want to ask yourself when you're building up a particular consumer profile. Consumer insights show at all different consumer touch points. And also understanding the consumer would be to understand, it's like a very secretive journey. If you're able to kind of get those insights, you would be able to get that connection. Nobody would kind of come back, like, and I'm taking an example of what Satya also mentioned. Nobody decided that, Netflix could be doing, as a product. Nobody did say that. So it's really important to kind of go through the consumer. The consumers are sitting at home, probably COVID's hit, and why is that a need? And that is where you try and understand. You have to hear, and that's the voice of the consumer that you would want to understand. So just these 7 questions, and again, not completely holistic, but they're just all about, how do you do that? What do you kind of, what is it that these questions could be? It could be just understanding, what is the description of the consumer, target description. If I were to just take an example, I would just say that, if I'm looking at, let's say, a biscuit, for example, just a very arbit example I'm taking here. Who do you, and it's like a healthy biscuit, so who would you want to kind of position that healthy biscuit for? Could be suburban women, working women, within the age group of, again, I'm just kind of talking about arbit numbers, but this is where you kind of want to think about, what is that age group that they fall under? They're definitely, what are the kind of choices that they kind of have? They're looking for something which is healthy. They run, they work out, for them, eating food could be more of a stress relief or maybe an escape. The second one could be, what are their needs? What is it that they're looking for? So maybe great taste, something which is around, something that maintains their weight but still satisfies the hunger. So around all of that, we try and put in all these questions together, trying to get as much of an information to get and understand our consumer, to be able to create the different sources of data there. So if you can move, Kumar, to the next slide. Thanks. Yeah. So again, I've just this is just like a little bit of a framework in terms of how do we get data, and again, I've just tried to put that up together in terms of what is it that data can be bringing about. We've got a lot of data. There are a lot of syndicated reports, etc. It depends on what category you are in. Sometimes you get data. Sometimes competitor data, channels data is available, which is a good starting point. What is it that you look at for the next, right? You go ahead and you observe, you see how your consumer is shopping, how is the consumer behaving. There's a good idea, a good chance that and this is probably, I remember I worked with a skincare a product division back in India. And that is when I really tried to understand, this is a company which is very big. It's an FMCG organization back in India. And they never had anything which was herbal, which was around that. And I was supposed to kind of go ahead and understand, and I was like, where to start? And that's when I just got a lot of consumers together, focus groups, ethnographic studies, etc. But that was a huge organization which was able to fund a lot of market research. For you, when you're starting up an entrepreneurial journey, it's probably a good idea to just understand how it works for probably a few, maybe just kind of go ahead and spend a day, if it's like an FMCG product that you're kind of looking at, just spend a day in terms of understand what is it that you can probably see. So I won't really go too much into details here, but what is important is to understand, learn the language and understand what the consumer is kind of looking at. Insights are definitely a great way to demonstrate that, we know you as a brand, we as a company, we understand what is it that you're looking at. And that's when the consumer looks at particularly the product that you're looking at, and they're like, wow, this is exactly how I feel, this is exactly what I am kind of looking at. And that's where that connection with the consumer is made. And that's probably the first step, because again, going back to the beautiful presentation that Satya had, and he shared that we are providing that experience, we are providing that connection, and that is where it's an important starting point. Come on to the next slide. Yeah. Brand positioning, maybe these are really, I wouldn't really look at the wording here, but this is something which I kind of believe that, it's a very good starting point when you're talking about how to get into creating that appropriate communication line for the particular product that you're looking at. So what is it, right? So you've identified your target, who is in the target consumer target segment. You've defined the slice of the population, who's motivated by your brand. What is it that the brand's offering? What is it that you would want to be kind of catering to? The next one is your brand is in what particular category, right? So we do talk about a competitive space. A competitive space around here would be to look at, is there any frame of reference that you can provide, so that will be the second one, which is again very rudimentary, but this just in a very in a nutshell, this tries to kind of put a lot of things into perspective on how you're competing against, putting up that communication line to your customer. Now, the third one is the most important, where you say that, what is it that your benefit? What's the product's benefit? Is it a functional benefit? And if you see on the right side, I've got, what are the kind of different benefits that you can talk about? The first one is just the ones which are probably on the tip of the iceberg, literally, when we know the consumer is looking for a basic skincare, particular, product, which is just a moisturizing need, right? So that's the product. That's what the consumer is looking at. The second one is they're not looking for something which is going to be artificial. They're looking for something which is herbal. For example, they're looking at something which is not going to be, spoiling up with their skin and really getting in acne and rashes, etc. The third is where is it that they're kind of, what do I get now? Functionally, what is the benefit that product is able to get? The fourth one's emotional. Emotional is that, yeah, I feel good. My skin starts glowing at the end of the day. This is how my entire family perceives or looks at me and talks about me. I feel good at the end of the day. So that is, in a nutshell, these are the kind of things that we kind of talk about. And the fourth one here is another important one, is that what are the specifics, what are the support points? Why? If there are any studies, if there are any quantifiable points which are done there, we talk about it. We just kind of put in those support points, which would be helping us to look at what is the benefit essentially. Kumar, if you can go to the next one. Thanks. I'll very quickly talk about it. What are the examples here? What is it that a brand promise could look like? What is it? Now, this is again a very old style. It is definitely something that, it's just to look at, just let's pick up one brand here, IKEA, for example, right? IKEA, what is it? What is the brand promise? As a consumer, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear about IKEA? That is the brand promise that the organization is talking about. It's about creating a better life every day for the many people, right? You do it yourself. You were able to kind of take it and just simplifying things, better things there. So, again, Dove, something which I really, talk about, and this is one of the things which is close to my heart, is what is Dove as a brand promise? As a consumer, when I hear about Dove, what's the first thing that comes to my mind? It's where, it is just where beauty is a source of confidence, not anxiety. That's the emotional aspect. That's the connect that we are talking about, what the brand promise talks about. So I wouldn't go too much into detail looking at the time. Kumar, can we go to the next one? Thanks. Yeah. Again, I'm just trying to put it in a more structured manner here. We are definitely, I use it pretty much when I talk about creating a marketing plan. In the corporate world, we could talk about it when you're looking at it, we just kind of put more structure to it. What is it that, you do a deep dive, you talk about the market, what are the indicators, if you have any data around it, talk about your consumer, and that is the most one. So I would want to really talk and stress more here about the consumer, because, that's where it's going to be a starting one. Talk about what are the channels. Now, this is where it's a little bit of a sales retail thing as well that comes in. How do you sell? Do you sell online? Do you sell offline, etc.? Talk about the competition. What is the performance of your particular product? How do you position it? Is there an innovative product? Are we kind of looking at it? What are the kind of perceptions that are there in the market for the competition? Competition is not doing well. What does the consumer need? Any premium segment, any premium product around it? And then talking about the brand, so the brand is where we start off with. The second stage would be to just do a very typical SWOT analysis, drivers, inhibitors. What are the drivers? If it is something we're talking about, let's say, a food, specialty food range, we're talking about it. So that specialty thing is, what is the driver? There is an influx of a particular segment, a lot of people from a particular set of country. That's why we look at a particular product. We can talk about Indian food here, etc. So what are the, and this is not just for marketing, I would say this is more of a generic, more of a business planning thing here as well. So just trying to put a few questions and trying to get more of the answers and strategies, and that helps, right? Kumar, to the next one. Yeah. Again, this is just about what happens. You've gotten your segment, you have your target, you have positioned it. What do you do? Now, this is again just from here does come and you put your marketing plan in place. That's where you get your execution. The strategy to tactical execution is where we as entrepreneurs win that battle. It just not putting it into strategic framework would help us. We have to kind of essentially do everything else. So what is it that we can do, right? And this is, I've just tried to put a few things here. That's where you're advertising, if you're kind of putting it as, do you kind of put an advertising plan? If somebody I know was wanting to start off an online educational thing, they wanted to do a tutoring business, do you advertise? Where do you advertise? Do you have a plan around it? Do you create a social media page, do you have like a search engine? Do you go ahead and talk about your particular tutoring business amongst that segment, in your local Facebook groups, etc.? Event sampling, you're doing like a new restaurant that's coming up. Do you go ahead and tie up with the local retailer who's probably just next door? Do you say that, we're going to look at, I'm providing a particular set of this new thing? Do you look at sampling there? And then you talk about, if you're getting an agency into the whole place and everything, you just talk about briefs, etc. And this, another thing here, which I want to talk about is a bit about the sales and the retailing execution. So sales and marketing definitely is not, I would say they go hand in hand. And this is going to be giving them, that ammunition sales to be able to go and sell. So merchandising, it's an important aspect, especially in the product-driven world when you're talking about FMCG products. How is the product seen, and where is it seen? And there is a lot of focus which goes ahead in terms of creating those shelf placements and in-store sampling and all of that particular thing. And the last point is around promotions. Do you do a campaign around it, and how do you execute? So, and as we kind of, as I come to the last slide here and talk about a few things as we go along, what we do is from now is that, I've given a little bit of a tactical aspect on how to go ahead and put things with respect to the consumer, and just a very quick one, and how do you kind of reach out to them as well. I think that will be the end of my slides. And what we do from here would be, I think, Sid, we'll get into questions and breakout rooms.
I will open up the breakout rooms in a minute. Thank you very much, Aditi and Satya. A lot of congratulations coming your way. So fantastic job. I'll be opening up the breakout rooms now. There you go. So hopefully you'd be able to see that. Everyone is allocated. So please join your conversation.
Like I said, what we can do as we go along is that we try and just spend some time on creating and just talking about the kind of work that the homework that we had. And I think the first one we would love to discuss would be about a 30-second elevator pitch. So what we would do is we can go around the table, anybody wants to take the first lead. And so
that would be a chance that Fishburners is allowing 8 people. They are venture capitalists as well, so you could be one of the 8, and you might be able to attract one of those venture capitalists. So they got lots of money and they got lots of contacts as well. So I think that would be one of the top things that you would focus on, is to run your own pitch in 90 seconds, less than 90 seconds.
30 seconds, we said.
80 seconds, actually. So 80 seconds is official. And
30.
30? You want them to go 30? Yeah.
I think this is Sid's decision here. So we'll just kind of go with the 30. I think in the last session, it was 30 seconds. Was that the one that was discussed?
30 seconds would not get you anywhere. So officially,
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, 30. So apologies. Sorry about any confusion. So as I mentioned last time, Fishburners has mentioned 80 seconds. 90 seconds altogether. So which is a minute and a half. But what you could try to do is you could try to run it for, say 70 seconds or something, give yourself a little bit of a buffer. And a tiny bit here and there, they would allow, but, they are not going to allow you 5 minutes or something. That's for sure. So 90 seconds is the official, and try to make it, say, around 70 seconds. So that is literally an elevator pitch. Does anyone want to go ahead with the elevator pitch?
I can start.
Go ahead, Valentina.
So I start working on that, but it's not like finished yet.
That's okay. Practicing.
So Vilarte is a Sydney-based art studio, truly passionate about providing meaningful service to animal lovers through art and creativity.
Is anyone? Hold on. So is anyone counting? Is anyone?
I'm doing that.
You got it? Okay, you start again. I will start too.
Okay.
1 second. Stopwatch.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So Bilarte is a Sydney-based art studio truly passionate about providing meaningful service to animal lovers through art and creativity. Our aim is to create artworks, illustrations, and a range of stationery and giftware products as a vehicle to support and help charities and foundations who work for animal welfare. We are also committed to the environment, keeping our business as sustainable as possible with compostable packaging, recycled materials, and 90% plastic free. That's all.
That's all? Well, that was short. That was like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And did you cover everything in it that you wanted to?
Because in the homework, it was supposed to make it 30 seconds. That's why I keep it short.
It's good to keep it nice and tight, but if you have certain
I need
some
to
more
add
ideas,
information.
definitely. As I checked the email last time, it was I believe 90 seconds, but we'll confirm.
Okay.
It's definitely not 30 seconds at all.
Okay, that's the start.
Yeah, absolutely. That was good. How did you like that, Aditi?
I think it was really nice. It was very crisp. It gave the USPs. It was giving a very clear messaging. But like Kumar did mention that, there is a lot of, you can add more, definitely try and add that competitive advantage, what you have, what others don't. So maybe, but I quite liked it, the way you had put them together. So great. Yeah, thanks.
I will still working on that. Thank you.
It's good. Who's going next?
I'm happy to go next.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Vibha.
Hi everyone, my name is Vibha and I'm the founder of Together We Can. Our mission is to bring people of all ages, cultures, professions, and religions together on a global platform to promote harmony and social inclusion. Together We Can is an initiative which aims to reunite people across the globe to promote the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Through our campaigns and collaborations, we will devote our efforts and resources to 6 SDGs. We aim to connect individuals who are committed to making significant changes across the globe to increase awareness about contemporary global issues, as well as discuss potential solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. That was good.
How many seconds was that? I actually didn't time it before. So
Aditi?
31 seconds. 31 seconds, yeah. But that was really, I think that was good. Maybe if you kind of go a bit more slowly, it will be around 40 seconds. So that will be good.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
The pitch has to have a little bit of a break, pause, etc., so people would be able to take that in properly. So good thing is I just opened the email here and it says 90 seconds. So that is official, 90 seconds for 8 startups. So that's good enough time really. In that you can take your time and present it very nicely. So all you did was 30 seconds. You could take a bit of a pause and perhaps you could add in something as well. You got plenty of time. Vibha.
Cool. Thank you.
No worries. Who wants to go next?
I started, but I didn't. No, I did write only 5 sentences, and that was for my daughter's business because I'm doing 2 myself and that of my daughter. So I can read that of my daughter's one.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hi, my name is Sarah, a decorator specializing in custom-made cakes and cupcakes design. I offer a personalized and boutique experience where each order is made fresh with love and detailed precision. That's all I've done.
Okay. That was 22 seconds.
22, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had the time, but promise to finish it.
That's all right. I mean, that was a good start. Plenty of flesh you can add to that, or some. So you want to talk about your event, like your business is the event thing, right? That we discussed last time, or
Me. No,
didn't you want to run events? Isn't that we talked about one time?
motivational speaker.
Yeah, exactly. Motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And you speak when there's an event.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Connected the dots there. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. So will you be pitching about that?
I don't know. I don't know.
Your business is there, yeah. All right. No way.
No.
Have a think and let us know. I mean, what's your core business? Do you have multiple? My apologies here to not know exactly. So, do you have multiple businesses, or like you talk about your daughter's thing? So, yeah, do understand that.
Yes, my daughter, she's running her business. She started doing this a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why I joined was to, get to know the details properly, the in and out of running the business properly.
Mm-hmm.
And then for my own one as a speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got two ideas there. One for your daughter, you want to learn things, and one for yourself as well.
Yeah.
In fact, like there could be a possibility we would allow two ideas. You could bring in your daughter as well if she's got a great pitch, and she passes that. Well, she'll get a chance to pitch there. That could be a possibility. The two ideas for competition. What do you think, Aditi?
Yeah, I think that will be a good one because that gives you the perspective to juggle between the two. And I'm sorry, but I missed that one. You're saying that your daughter will also be able to pitch the idea. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're suggesting, Kumar?
No, I don't think so, because I wanted her to be part of it, but she works in the childcare industry and runs a cake business too. So actually, she just got home. So she will not be able to be part of this process. So my intention was to get to know the nitty-gritty of running a business, so that I can share the information with her. Well, I'm supposed to be her manager. That's what I know.
Okay, no worries. So in that case, you'll have only one idea about your motivation speaker. Okay, no problem. No problem. So that's what your idea is, one idea. So no confusion there. Cool. Anything else, Franklin?
No.
That is all. All right, cool. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think I can go.
All right, Paula.
Yeah. Hi. We don't have the name of our business yet. We have the concept developed, but not an official name.
Okay.
This is about the health use. Okay, I will tell you even if you can guess what is it without a name.
Okay.
Our juice are made from natural local fresh fruit and veggies direct to you to improve your life. A fun mix that delivers health and a good taste, difficult to avoid them.
And you wanted us, or
that was it.
Okay.
And you wanted us to guess the product?
Could you say that again, please? If you don't mind.
That'd be good. Thank you.
Again, to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
As a pitch, Paula.
Okay.
And let us know when you begin, so we'll tap onto, the timer.
Okay. Ready, go.
Okay.
Our juice are made from natural local fresh fruit and veggies direct to you to improve your life. A fun mix that delivers health and a good taste, difficult to avoid them.
Okay. That was like 13 seconds.
Yeah.
So how would you flesh it out? We could all
short.
help you right now. We got time. If you want to brainstorm.
Your business is about delivering fresh and organic, healthy food,
Yes.
I guess.
Yes, they are. There are juices just made from fruit, a mix of fruit and veggies, but fast, healthy food. Yes, instead of having just we're thinking in a small food trucks that deliver those juices.
Could you talk a bit more about health aspects for people to be motivated in this process with your product? Right?
Yeah.
You might be able to
Yes.
put in 10 seconds or something of how it's good for the people, because you are inviting buyers and you're inviting investors. So how it's going to be a fabulous product for consumer? Why would they buy this?
It will be the idea that we don't find at the moment at the competition. Well, to be honest, I didn't come last week. We didn't participate last week, and we have to still working in this. But the competition at the moment is that it's not that fast. It's not with an easy accent for this product. So we want to just be outside of gyms or just visit to be very close to coffee places and join and have this a second option, this option to offer.
Okay, not much competition. That's good.
Yeah, we are discovering. We are at the point that we are discovering and talking about our idea with friends or local people that are more time here in Australia or Australian people, and we are discovering that is already more competitions that are working from home. Like the direct delivery. So that was a bit disappointing, but good to know on time just before to an investment.
Okay.
You could also talk about maybe, something around like Kumar was mentioning, a bit more detail about why is it that juices per se would be a more convenience-based thing, rather than sitting down and really gobbling up all the fruits. For example, you say that maybe juices are more on the go kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really, so maybe a convenience as a factor. Maybe you can get a little bit, talk more about that. For the health aspect, like Kumar was mentioning, maybe, you can talk about how, your juices have a particular ingredient. I don't know about the ingredients, but, how these days, if it has, let's say, more sources of vitamin C or any gooseberry or anything which is more important to develop the body's immunity, anything around that. Like I said, I don't know about the components. And what Melissa was also asking, talk about a little bit more about the organic aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I think that those 2-3 things, if you talk about, you'll be very good within that 90-second mark with what you have already mentioned.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Who wants to?
Thank you.
No worries. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll go.
All right.
I've only made this one short because, like, in the homework, it does say 30 seconds only for the homework. But
okay.
All right.
Going.
Ready, go.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Noel, and I am the creator of a website and app. My website's goal is to pair with potential clients to lawyers, whilst also advocating financial services. So if a client has financial difficulties in raising bail or lawyer fees, then this will help. What sets us apart from our competitors is we provide as much pre-vetted information as possible, along with previous dealings and the history of court cases. This site will be a first of its kind for lawyers and will shake up the entire industry. So lawyers and firms will no longer be able to hide with just word of mouth. Customers have every right to know the service they choose to purchase has a reputable history.
No, 48 seconds. That was good.
I quite liked it. I think it did have a lot of reason to believe. There were strong claims that you had put in, very crisp. And you also got in the competition aspect there, right? You also said the first in, that's there. Yeah. What were your thoughts, Kumar?
It was good. It was very clear, and there's a business idea into it. I couldn't fault it, so that was very good. A winning formula. We did talk about that before as well. I know Noel from before, so we have shared this idea, and I believe this idea has got a lot of a lot of momentum. So yeah. And I believe that I believe that you will have a chance.
So all I'm looking for is a chance.
You will get there. We'll try our best, and I bloody mean it.
So I got a question, Kumar. Do you have for the pitch day? Do you have the plan about who will start talking, who will be the next, who will be the last person? Because I'm working normally 2 days per week, and that day I'm working. But if I know that, let's say I'm talking from 7 to 5 to 1.
90 seconds only. Remember, 90 seconds is nothing. So
yeah, I can break that period and do my speech. Do you have
we haven't created a list. So, I mean, you're talking about the people doing the pitch.
Yes, I just want to know if you're having a plan, okay, let's say Melissa will start the pitch. The next one will be this person.
But do you understand that it's a random 8 people that we will be picking?
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So not everyone will have a chance. So we have no idea who's going to win it.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's all right. And so everyone will know in that moment who will be the person there. Yeah.
Yeah. So just at later stage. Yeah.
All good. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries. On that note, do you want to go ahead with your pitch?
I haven't done my pitch, but I will do what I've been working on.
Yeah. Let us open the stopwatch. Yeah, whenever you're ready.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Cavero. I'm the founder of a nonprofit organization, League of Latin American Migrants Australia, which the main purpose is to provide free English online classes for Latinos who are in Australia and for those who are overseas but would like to come to Australia and they are in need for more English. Those classes are set up in a friendly environment, like these students feel free to talk and don't feel the pressure of being in a classroom. The organization will provide English classes from basic to upper intermediate level with different focus in classes. We will provide grammar classes, vocabulary, pronunciation, phonetic classes, and so on. As a secondary purpose, the organization will provide also workshops for the Latin American community, such as well-being workshop and also mental health events and activities for the Latin community. The organization purpose is to integrate students and Latin American people in Australia with the Australian community to make their life better. Thank you.
Okay. So 1 minute and 17 seconds. Yeah. That was good. That was nice and detailed. Yeah. Go ahead, Aditi.
Sorry, I'm started operating already, which is really exciting. We are in the planning phase, and we will start on social media next week after we finish the plan.
All right, that's good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We will.
Yeah, Melissa, I think that's really a good one. I just have one thing, maybe because you've been able to very nicely articulate it. You've gotten your target segment, you've gotten your reasons, why and versus the competitor. Maybe just there's some places where you can use a little bit more, just shorten those words and just sharpen it. I think otherwise it's really nice. And congratulations on starting it and in the planning stage.
Thank you.
And I would say the same as, try to keep it as compact as possible. Every word that you say, it has to be kind of motivational and attractive.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
That'd be good. It was good. Fiba.
Hi, Kirma. So I just had a question for the pitch. So with my concept, we've got an organization called Together We Can, and there's many projects that we run within that as part of that project. So for the pitch, would you recommend providing an overview of the organization of what we do, or like focusing on one specific project?
Overall organization, I would say, rather than just one project, because one project doesn't define the whole organization. That's what my understanding is. Aditi?
I would agree to that one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like our organization right now, one project is aspiring entrepreneur, but that doesn't define the whole organization.
Yep, and I think would you recommend including? I know it's the time you're constrained with time, but would you recommend perhaps just naming the project that, let's say 2 or 3 main projects that you're intending on running as part of the organization?
Absolutely, as long as you cover that in 90 seconds, and you reckon that that makes it a successful formula, winning formula. Why not?
Okay, cool. Because I just think I think if you name a few projects, maybe 1 or 2, it just sounds a little more appealing.
Absolutely. Yeah, that defines things, right? And maybe that connects you to your why you do what you do.
Yep, cool. Thank you for that.
No worries. Well,
and it shows a good diversity in terms of the thought process, which is also important, that you're not just stuck upon one, but you've got like 2-3 of the different ones that you're focusing on.
Yep. Absolutely. You guys have your audience clarified, right? Clear?
Yes. So for me, I'm focusing on young people, especially from multicultural communities.
All right. And Noel was saying something?
Yeah, mine for the moment, the potential I have for my website is to go, like I said before in the start, like for all the different things of to do with lawyers, immigration, commercial, and whatnot. But just for the moment, I'm going to stick with just criminal. So, anybody that has to do anything to do with crime will be my main audience. Just for the moment.
Yeah. Anyone else? Paula, Melissa?
I have a question. So in order to define my audience, for example, I provide like 3 different services, like stationery products, portraits, hand-painted portraits, and murals. So do I need to define like for each service different audience, or?
Each service different audience. Too much information to my critical thinking, or just on top of the head. So try to kind of summarize your business without providing too much detail, because no one wants to know too much detail. They want to know an overall picture, a beautiful picture,
Okay.
And if you have a little bit of diversity, as Fiva was talking about, like this is an overall organization, it's an overall picture, just a couple of projects that we do and just tie up your story. Never do too much information in like 90 seconds something.
Oh, okay. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe, like just to substantiate that, if you have three of these, if you just say that, what's the kind, maybe 80% of most of your stuff, most of your business is going to get covered by these two segments under maybe the murals and the other hand painted portraits category. I don't know what that split is, but then just talk about those two and just go deeper into that, like focus, that's what I was, when I covered my presentation also for marketing, I realized that, when we go deep, broader, it's probably just talking about the selling aspect, but we just feel to get, to the core of what we should be talking about more in detail around the focus.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
And as I was saying, like, connect with your why, because people buy to your why factor. If people connect with that, they will buy it. Or else, no matter how good your product is, it can never sell properly, at least.
It's true.
The passion, passion is in why. And you got a good one, like you get to donate to a good cause, create very etc. So yeah, you can definitely connect with that, and that will make a good pitch, a great pitch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will have that in mind.
We are glad to hear that.
I think the next one is, what was the key objection for your business and how will you overcome it? So talking about, what was the key objection? So what, just to Kumar's point, about the why, about the passion, and what were the barriers that you kind of hear about the product and about the business idea that you have, and how do you kind of go ahead and cater to talking about it? I can see Noel is nodding his head, so yeah, he's going.
Yeah, I'll go. Was some of the barriers that I had. Well, I originally wanted to have the lawyers like pay an advertising fee, like for me to advertise their business, their statistics and all that. But I ran into a lot of roadblocks with them, and they said that they've already got advertising and they don't have time and blah blah blah. So I've had to change, how I wanted to run my site. So yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, right? Because if you realize that if there is a barrier, then you go back and you customize and you try and tackle it, which is good to hear. Yeah.
There will always be objection in the business. So, if you handle that beforehand, if you get lots of objections beforehand, and that'll help you in shaping your business, so it becomes a very good product, and then later on there'll be no hurdle. So it's helping you to shape it up. Yeah. And for you to decide that, okay, this is the product I really want to go ahead with, because, initial stage, you got to make sure you got to test your product, that is the product, that is your,
Yeah, I've been ringing around like crazy.
Anyone else with the key objection?
Ella wants to go. Yeah.
Yeah, we have one difficulty that we find out. It is about the approaching, because with the people that our segment have to walk to us, have to stop, and mainly, like fast food. In our case, that is healthy fast food, but in general, fast food, you have the drive in. So yeah, that's we got stuck there, like how the customer will go. So we just want to go the closest that we can, like markets, like gyms and all that. But that's not we don't want that small market. That's it. We want to expand. And yeah, so we have to try to find a path, a direct path, a quickly path to get a client.
So besides the local market, small market, you want to expand to bigger ones, yeah?
Yes, but no supermarket. We don't want to get in supermarket. We
Well,
just
then go on.
yeah, we have to try to find more places where people, despite weekends, like we need to be on the market Monday to Sunday. I mean, in outside. So yeah, that's our one problem that
Fine
we
point.
found out. Yeah, we just mentioned the problem. We didn't make a proper research to or a brainstorm ideas of how to get more clients.
Well, there are cafes, small and big cafes. So if you don't want to get into supermarkets, there are different size cafes that they get to sell things, from the shelf. So you would be able to form partnerships with them. And then small grocers as well. So if you really don't want to get into bigger supermarket, you could go to smaller ones, right?
Yeah.
So corner shops, etc. There are 7-Elevens, the likes of 7-Elevens. It's not a big one. It's not Woolworths, but it sells things, every day they got good enough sale. IGA is smaller than Woolworths, etc. That's your choice, which is a small segment thing. Then there are plenty of local grocers like, say, in Marrickville and Leichhardt, all that. They've got little shops around there, and yeah, different shops. Restaurants also, perhaps, right? Yours is a food, right? So you can go to nice restaurants. There are different range of restaurants. Packaging, you got to make sure, me coming from advertising and design perspective, you got to make sure that you got a beautiful packaging. Packaging wins, like we buy from our eyes. These days you go to supermarkets, I'm imagining like the tea segment, so you go into the tea section and all the beautiful packaging. Packaging wins. So you got to make sure that you have hired a right designer who will do a good job for you. And then after, you could do a bit of tasting. So how to win those clients, like the restaurants, etc. You could actually be physically present and have a chat with the owner that, okay, can I do a bit of a tasting for your customers, right?
Okay.
It could be a weekend. To my mind, locally in Alexandria, I can think of All Press Cafe and Grounds Cafe, actually. Here we go. Grounds Cafe, we have relationship with. So we could get you to talk to the Grounds Cafe, and they got a big market. They got a big following. So on weekends, they get food stalls, etc. And if you establish a relationship, they sell products from the shelves as well, from the counters. So
yeah,
so coming back to
will
so coming back to the point, what I was saying was like how to gain momentum. You could do a bit of a tasting for people. You could sell it from there, but doing a little bit of tasting on a busy day, like weekend or so, that would get you following, and that will do the test on your products too.
Yeah, so at this point seems like the best way is to have a joint adventure for the sale point, not just directly.
Yeah, and joint. Please elaborate on that. Your thoughts. Please explain what you mean. Like, how many joint? Like, how do you mean by joint ventures?
Yeah, I mean, like through someone else, through selling through cafes, selling through someone else already, who already has a business going.
Absolutely, unless you have your own bricks and mortar, your own nice, size shop in a good location to be able to sell that. For a startup, the best way to save on bricks and mortar is to have partnership with established businesses like cafes, successful cafes, small, large, and then the grocery shops, etc. that I mentioned. So in that way, you don't have to pay the bills for all those things. All you have to do is to stack your product, on those shelves, have a relationship there, and just go from there.
Yep. Thank you.
No worries. Aditi was saying something. Sorry.
No, I was just, I work in the food industry as well. So I can really understand the kind of ideas that you're also sharing here. But yes, partnership would be a good way. I'm actually working with somebody else for an organic blends kind of a thing. So they have a very similar thing, very similar objections they're also facing in the barriers. So I kind of really agree that you should try and open up all the fronts. Essentially, start off with sampling. I also did mention that in my presentation today. Just look at a few restaurants like what Kumar mentioned. Restaurants, maybe cafes, etc. And just it's an easy one there. You're also looking at a healthy thing, so maybe tie up with probably a few pharmacies. Also, like the Priceline, etc. If you can kind of put up maybe a stall outside and just have a little bit of sampling, because this is something taste and convenience and the health aspect. So that's like a three concentric circles that you're talking about. You're giving like a beautiful product. So definitely, go ahead, look at all these aspects of partnerships, and sampling is what I feel that you should be looking at. I quite like the idea of also selling through the, yeah, okay, so this is getting done. Yeah, so selling through the restaurants, but yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, so I think we'll go back to the main one now.
Yeah, it will
Thanks,
finish.
Andy.
And, yeah, and we didn't cover all the questions, but yeah, we would cover that later on. That's all right. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So we'll be going back into the main room in 30 seconds.
Kumar, while we're waiting, can I ask you a quick question?
Mm-hmm.
Just to double check, your feedback that I really liked it was to speak in a concise way, directly, and in a short sentence. Is that was correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Concise, nice and short and crisp, very clear.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Everyone. How did the breakout rooms go?
It went well. We had a great chat, actually. And this time, I didn't have to break the room. You did. So, yeah, the conversations were going well, actually. And I did realize that we are 2 minutes over. So,
yeah, cool. I won't take too much more of your time. I hope you guys found it useful. Just before we wrap up, this is the homework for next week. Creating your marketing plan. You've got the link there. Deciding if you're going to use social media for your business. Some great tips through this link here. Thirdly, write key marketing copy about your business. So that's important, because that'll show on potentially your website, or your brochure, or your flyers, and even how you speak to people about second elevator pitch. Hopefully you've been able to consolidate your business idea into a 30-second pitch. And lastly, start thinking about what software you would need for your business to allow you to deliver your service or your product. So for instance, Opportunities Australia, we're using Zoom, which allows us to communicate with you easily. We use email, so that's figuring out whether using Gmail or Outlook, and what integrates with those products. So yeah, next week we'll be talking about building the engine. So talking about more about infrastructure, operations, and systems. But yeah, thanks again. Hope you found it useful. Do you have any last questions before we close up?
Would we be able to get the slides by Friday?
Yeah,
Possible? Yeah.
definitely. Definitely. Apologies for the delay.
Thank you.
Sorry, Sid, you're basically having a symphony orchestra.
Yeah,
So I'll make
exactly.
sure that it's there this time.
Yeah, we'll make sure to follow follow all the emails correctly this time. So should be okay. Any other questions or so before we break out?
Oh, just have a quick comment here, and just on your group, some colleagues here they mentioned about got some idea about identify small market and target on very specific audience group. And here I include a link. This link is a small product, particularly designed for, they call it a washing bag, and it's particularly designed for the rock climber. For example, if we're a tourist, we went to the mountain, we go to mountain area. There's no washing machine, no electricity. And so use this washing bag basically, and we can survive. So this one just an example. I know this one because a couple years ago, I served as a consultant for the New South Wales investment hub, and some small company, they present this product and to us. Because this one, we can see they targeting on very small group, rock climber or tourist. And but then I think in 2 or 3 year time period, they became kind of billions. Oh, sorry, not billion, millions dollars business. So that's just like sometimes small product focus on very specific customer group. It also can be a very successful business. Just give you some idea, some less one of the case study, and yeah, that's all. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thanks for another week of joining us, guys. Have a great week ahead, and get in touch if you need to. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.